I used to stop for everyone. That's something people don't understand about long-haul driving. They think it's lonely work, and it is. But the loneliness creates a kind of code. You see a rig on the shoulder with its flashers going. You pull over and ask if they need you to call it in. You hear someone on Channel 19 asking for a road check. You answer. You look out for each other, because there's nobody else to do it. Especially on the I-40 west of Oklahoma City, where the land opens up and just never closes again. I've been running freight for 11 years, mostly dedicated lanes, mostly the same corridors. Chicago to Dallas, Memphis to Albuquerque. You learn the roads like you learn the rooms in your house. You know where the speed traps are, which truck stops have real food, which wait stations are closed on weekends. It becomes routine, and routine is the whole point. Routine means nothing's wrong. I picked up a load of industrial fasteners in Oklahoma City on a Tuesday in November. 42,000 pounds, well secured. Delivering to a distribution warehouse outside Albuquerque. I'd made that run probably 60 times. West on the I-40, straight shot, nothing to it. I fueled up at the Pilot in El Reno, grabbed a coffee, checked my straps, and pulled out around 7 in the morning. I wanted to drive through the night and beat the wind that kicks up across the panhandle every afternoon. The sun was already down by the time I passed Weatherford. The last colors were bleeding out of the sky to the west. This thin red line along the horizon, like a wound that wouldn't close. I remember noticing that, and thinking it was beautiful in a way I couldn't quite hold on to. That's the kind of thing the road gives you sometimes. By Elk City, it was full dark, no moon. I had the CB on, but Channel 19 was quiet. Just the engine and the road, and the white dashes coming at me like a pulse. That's when I noticed the headlights. They were far back, maybe half a mile behind me. Just 2 white points in my mirror. And at first, I didn't think anything of it. There's always someone behind you on the interstate. But I watched them the way you do when there's nothing else to watch. And after 20 minutes, I realized they hadn't moved. Not closer, not farther. The exact same distance, like they were pinned to my trailer. I sped up a little, 5 over, then 8. The lights held. I eased off and let my speed drop to 62. The lights held. That's unusual. Not impossible. Sometimes you end up passing someone without meaning to. But it had been 30 minutes now, and the distance between us hadn't changed by a single car length. I could feel something tighten in my chest, just slightly, the way you feel a change in pressure before a storm. I turned my CB to Channel 19 and keyed up. Westbound I-40, this is the blue Peterbilt around mile marker 112. Got someone behind me. You got your ears on? Nothing. Westbound traffic behind the Peterbilt. You copy? Static. Not even the background hiss you usually get. Just this flat, dead air. Like the radio was connected to an empty room. I sat the mic down and watched the mirrors. I crossed into Texas just before 10. The welcome sign came and went, and the land, which had already been flat, became something else entirely. Became an absence. No trees, no hills, no buildings. Just the road cutting through the dark like a crease in a sheet of black paper. The wind turbines were out there. I couldn't see the towers, but the red lights blinked in slow unison across the horizon. Dozens of them, like something enormous was breathing in the dark. The headlights were still there. I pulled into a rest area near Shamrock. I needed to stretch my legs, and I'll admit, I wanted to see the vehicle pass. I wanted to watch it go by, and just feel stupid for letting it get to me. I parked, climbed down, walked to the restroom, took my time, washed my hands, washed my face, stood there looking at myself under the fluorescent lights. When I walked back to my truck, the rest area was empty. No other vehicles. The highway was dark in both directions. Whatever had been behind me was gone. I felt relieved in a way that almost embarrassed me. I climbed back in, pulled onto the interstate, and got up to speed. Within 4 minutes, the headlights were in my mirror again. Same distance, same brightness, same perfect, patient interval. My stomach dropped. There was no on-ramp between the rest area and where I was now. I would have seen the headlights approaching from behind. The road was straight and empty for miles in every direction, and those lights hadn't come from anywhere. They were just there, the way they'd always been there, as if me stopping had been a minor interruption in something that had already decided how this was going to go. I drove faster. I got up to 78, then 82. My trailer was humming, the fasteners shifting slightly against their straps. The lights held their distance. I dropped to 60. The lights held. I changed lanes. They didn't follow. They didn't need to. They just stayed centered in my mirror, splitting the difference between both lanes. And it occurred to me that whatever I was looking at wasn't in a lane at all. I picked up my phone to call dispatch. No signal. I had expected that. The Panhandle is a dead zone in places. But seeing those empty bars made the cab feel, well, smaller. Amarillo was still 2 hours out. Nothing happened for a long time after that. And the nothing was worse than anything. Just the road and the dark, and those 2 points of light in the glass. And me in between, with the growing certainty that something was wrong, in a way that I didn't have a language for. The emptiness outside my windows wasn't just empty, it was cleared. Like everything that should have been out there. The cattle, the coyotes, the other trucks had been moved aside to make room. I passed a vehicle around mile marker 60, a sedan on the shoulder, hazard lights flashing, someone standing beside it. I almost stopped. 11 years of driving, and stopping was a reflex. My foot actually moved toward the brake before something held me back. Not a thought, a sensation, like a hand on my chest, pressing me gently into my seat. The figure beside the sedan was standing perfectly still, not waving, not looking at a phone, not walking around the car to check a tire, just standing there, facing the highway, arms at their sides. And as I passed, I was doing 75, and I passed in less than 2 seconds. The figure's head tracked my cab with a smoothness that didn't look like movement. It looked like rotating. I checked my mirror, and the sedan was dark. No hazard lights, no figure, just the road, and behind it, the headlights, steady and faithful. I started to shake, not dramatically, not a tremor I couldn't control, just a low vibration in my hands, like the engine was running through me instead of under me. I gripped the wheel harder and focused on the road. 20 miles later, the CB came to life. It shouldn't have. I turned it down after Shamrock, but the volume was up now, and a voice was coming through, broken by static, but clear enough to understand.
If anyone can hear me, I'm on the 40 westbound. I think around mile 40. My car died, and I can't...
A woman's voice, scared. The cadence was right. The panic was right. And for a moment, I reached for the mic.
Please, I have my son with me. He's only 4, and it's so dark out here.
I pulled my hand back. I pulled it back because the static wasn't random. It had a rhythm. It was breathing. The voice kept talking, and I turned the CB off. I turned it off, and I pressed the button hard enough to hurt my finger, and I stared at the road ahead, and I didn't look in my mirrors. I drove, and I didn't look, and I told myself that there was no woman, and there was no child, and the voice was coming from the same place as the headlights, from whatever was behind me, learning what I would respond to. That was the worst part. Not the fear, not the understanding that each attempt was a little better than the last. I could feel the next one coming the way you feel a word on the tip of your tongue. It came at mile marker 29. A truck was on its side in the median, a big rig, an 18-wheeler like mine, and it was real enough that I could see the way the trailer had buckled. The cargo spilled across the grass, and there was a driver. There was a man crawling away from the cab, moving slowly, one arm dragging him behind, and he turned his face toward my headlights, and I saw blood, and his mouth was open, and he was waving. He was waving with his good arm, weak and desperate, and I knew in my bones it wasn't real, but I couldn't prove it. I couldn't prove it because it looked perfect. The details were right, the physics were right, the way his knee moved through the grass, the way the blood caught the light, the way his mouth shaped a word I couldn't hear. I was crying. I hadn't realized it until then, but tears were running down my face, and my jaw was clenched so tight, my teeth ached, and my foot was on the accelerator. I was passing him, and I was watching him shrink in my mirror. That arm still raised, and behind him, farther back, but not as far as before, the headlights, they were closer. For the first time all night, they had moved. They had gained ground. And I understood the way you understand something in a dream, without logic, without proof. Every time I drove past, whatever was behind me got a little closer. And every offering would be a little more convincing than the last. At mile marker 18, I passed a minivan on the shoulder. A woman was standing in the open driver's door, holding a child on her hip. I didn't slow down. I have to tell you that clearly, because I need you to understand what I chose. A woman holding a child on the side of the highway at 1 a.m. in the Texas Panhandle in November. And I drove past her at 81 miles per hour without even touching my brake. The headlights surged forward in my mirror, closer now, bright enough that they cast shadows inside my cab, long and thin and reaching. I could feel something behind me the way you feel heat from an open oven. Not a sound, not a sight, a pressure. I could see Amarillo, a faint glow on the horizon, a smear of orange, and I drove toward it, and I didn't stop. I hit the city limits doing 87. The speed limit dropped, and I didn't care. I ran under overpasses, past gas stations and fast food signs and street lights, and when I checked my mirrors, the headlights were gone. I pulled into the TA truck stop off I-40, and I sat in my cab for 20 minutes with the engine running, shaking, crying, waiting. Nothing came. I made my delivery in Albuquerque the next afternoon. I didn't tell my dispatch what happened. I didn't tell anyone. What would I even say? I drove a straight road through flat country and got scared of some fucking headlights. But here's what I need you to understand. And this is the part that keeps me up at night. Worse than the lights. Worse than the voice on the radio. Worse than any of it. I checked the news the next morning. I checked for accidents on I-40 in the Texas Panhandle. For stranded motorists. For a woman and a child. For a rolled over 18-wheeler. For anything. And there was something. A minivan found on the shoulder near mile marker 18. Engine dead. Driver's door open. A woman's purse on the passenger seat. A child's car seat in the back. Still buckled. Still clipped in. No woman. No child. No sign of either of them. Just the van. In the dark. In the empty road. I don't know if she was real. That's the thing that's eating me alive. I don't know if what I saw at mile marker 18 was another trick, another attempt to make me stop, or if it was a real woman with a real child, who needed help on a freezing night in the middle of nowhere? I don't know, and I'll never know. And I have to live inside that space for the rest of my life. I still drive. I still run the I-40 corridor. Dispatch doesn't know, and there's no way to explain it that doesn't end with me losing my CDL. But I don't stop anymore. Not for anyone. Not for flashers on the shoulder. Not for voices on the radio. Not for figures waving in my headlights. I drive, and I watch my mirrors, and I keep my speed up, and I tell myself that whatever's out there taught me something true about the road, about the dark, about the cost of surviving a thing that never stops following you. It taught me that the price of getting through isn't what you'd think. It's not courage. It's not luck. It's what you're willing to drive past. I used to stop for everyone. I need you to understand that I'm sorry.